Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
I'm Greg Abbott. I'm a playwright from North Mankato, and I've written and directed a play called 9/11 News Cycle. Being a former news person, I set it in a newsroom, and it's a group deciding what to put on page one. But as the meeting goes on, they start seeing different things come across the wire, such as Oprah coming out of retirement, and they have to decide whether or not they want to give people the news that they think they want, or give them the news that they really need.
All right, let's get this planning session underway here. Tomorrow, I want 9/11 all over the front of that newspaper. So that's why all three of you are going to go to the 10th anniversary press conference today. Now, Dan, you're going to cover the overall story, people's reactions to the, since 9/11, safety regulations that we've had since that time, President Obama's statements, yada, yada, yada. Beth, you are going to do the personal side. Mac has found us some families of people who died when those buildings collapsed. You're going to go and talk to them. You're going to talk to the personal angle about how their lives have been since they lost their lives there. I want this to be real tear-jerking stuff. I want that reader to be bawling by the time the paper is read. Oh, and John, you are going to do the Osama bin Laden is dead angle. People's reactions to the war in Afghanistan. That whole don't mess with America, rah, rah, USA bullcrap. Oh man, this is going to be huge coverage. I want us to have team coverage. And we've also got an extra 2 pages on the inside here just for... Oh. John, it looks like I'm going to be sending you to a different press conference.
What? What about huge 9/11 coverage?
Oh, yeah, well, this is huge, too. Lindsay Lohan is running for governor of California.
So. What? That's news? She just got out of jail. Can she even run?
Well, that may even be the whole point of it. Oh, man, this is huge. Our readers are going to eat this up. Problem girl goes to jail, turns her life around, runs for governor of California.
This is ridiculous. You're actually pulling me off 9/11's 10th anniversary for Lindsay Lohan?
Listen, John, our readers are going to want this more than 9/11. This is going to go on our banner. And then we can take these 9/11 stories and we can move them down just a little bit. That's why I need to have you go to that press conference right now, because it's going to be a circus down there. Oh my God. She's getting ready to announce an anti-terrorist platform for California.
You've got to be kidding. You're going to waste page one with Lindsay Lohan? Do you know how stupid that makes us look?
Well, Dan, I used to be kind of a pure news guy. Look where that's gotten the newspaper industry. Heck, people don't even read the newspapers anymore. Now, that's and why not? Because we sit up here all snooty and we tell them Lindsay Lohan's not important, that they ought to be remembering 9/11 and events from like 10 years ago.
But it is important. It's much more important than Lindsay Lohan?
John, not to our readers it isn't. If our readers have a choice between a 10-year-old rehash of events from 9/11 or reading about Lindsay Lohan running for governor, they're going to read about Lindsay.
But
No, but about it. Case closed. Now, pick up your stuff and get a seat down there at that press conference before every other news agency in the nation beats us to the punch.
so much for team coverage of 9/11.
You, Dan, are going to have to pick up that bin Laden story here and kind of roll that into your overall story.
Scoop, do you really think Lindsay Lohan is more important than the 10th anniversary of 9/11? Do you really think the American public's priorities are that shallow?
Well, you know, at one time I didn't. But anymore, it sure seems like the general public is ready to follow every fluffy puppy that comes their way. It's like we all got ADD. We get our news flashes here on our iPhones and our Blackberries. Oh, if you ask, they'll give you a politically correct answer. They'll tell you 911's the important story. But I'm telling you, when that newspaper comes, Lindsay Lohan's what they're going to want to read about.
But part of our job is to set the priorities for news. I mean, if we let readership statistics run our news department, we'd have nothing but Arnold the adulterated Schwarzenegger all over the front page.
Well, now, Dan, let's take a look at that. You talked me into running as our headline, Passage of the Education Bill. And we buried the Arnold story on page 3. Next day, corporate called. And they chewed my behind. Showed us all of the web hits, questioned my news judgment.
They're just a bunch of money-grubbing bottom liners.
Yeah, who happen to pay our salaries. Right, Beth? You're awful quiet over there.
Doesn't matter. You're going to do what you want to anyway. In fact, I agree with you. Americans are idiots, and we're helping them become idiots by not getting a spine and telling them something really important.
You want to tell me what it is that is so important that we're not telling them?
That 246 people died on those planes. That 2,606 people died in the Twin Towers. That another 125 people died at the Pentagon. That
Whoa, hold that thought. I'm getting another text here. Oh my gosh. Now this is huge. Oprah's coming out of retirement. She's going to want a new show. Beth.
God!
Now, see, that's the kind of enthusiasm I'm looking for. I'll tell you, this has just been a wild news day. That's why I need to have you get down to that press conference, because now I'm going to have to rework this front page.
You're putting Oprah on the front, too?
Yeah, Oprah, Lindsay, and 9/11.
I hope not in that order.
Well, of course, in that order. Oprah is the headline. And we can put like Lindsay and 9/11 down here, but Oprah is on page 1.
Top of front?
Top of front. Which is why I need to have you go down to that press conference now. Get up all kinds of detail. Oh, and pick up what you can about information from the last show that she had. And Dan, you're going to have to take that human interest story we had and kind of roll that into your overall story there, too.
So I'm doing an overall and tearjerker personal stories, and I'm also doing the Osama reaction. I'm doing all of this, and I'm filling a front story and 2 inside pages.
Well, actually, you only got 1 page. I'm got to need a little more room for Oprah.
That is half The inside space you were given to the team.
You know, proclamations, lectures, and high-minded propositions aside, we can do that later. Pick up your things and go.
Well, I'm glad I'm putting my journalistic skills to such good use.
Boy, she's got a little bit of a sarcastic attitude. Let me tell you, when she sees that banner, though, everything will be fine. Dan, it's not like we're taking 9/11 off the front page. It's still there.
In a little corner at the bottom right.
Yeah, well, and a whole page on the inside.
Scoop, do you ever wonder what happened to journalistic integrity? Do you ever think that because we chased the dog's tail, that we've dumbed down society?
Well, you know, times change. These web hits.
I don't care about web hits. What if we changed our brand to something like news you need to know? What if we started focusing on the really important things? I'm going to focus on a victim story from 9/11, but I'm also going to focus on a soldier story from Afghanistan and how they are forgotten. We're still over there fighting the war against terrorism, and all of them are forgotten. And even here in the U.S., there are 2,900 people that died here. Do you know the name of one of them?
Yeah, there was that Burnett fella. He was a passenger on one of those hijacked planes, fought the terrorists while they were on their way to Washington.
That's probably one more name than anyone else can name. Maybe it's time we started doing real news, telling people what's really important. Maybe this whole movement starts with us.
You know, we can do that. Our circulation falls, and then we fold.
Scoop, I've never asked a favor of you before. Trust me on this. Keep 9/11 at the top of page 1. You can still have Oprah and Lindsay at the bottom, but keep 9/11 where it should be.
God, I can't do that. Corporate would
Screw
get on
corporate. Let's start a new trend. Tell them we're giving people what they need, not the unimportant stuff they think they want. Our motto can be a newspaper with priorities.
No. You know, I'll think about it. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, but I'm going to think. Oh, this is a dilemma. This is quite a dilemma.
Before you send me to cover Justin Bieber's new hairstyle.
No, this is huge, but, oh man, but it's a dilemma. I'm afraid you're going to have to skip the 9/11 press conference. Brett Favre is coming out of retirement, and he's going to lead the Vikings for one more season.
You're kidding. They already have McNabb.
Well, McNabb will serve as the backup in case Favre would get hurt. That's what makes this a huge story. Everybody's running to that press conference. You got to go.
But what about 9/11, the 10th anniversary?
I'll get some Associated Press wire copy. I'll cobble something together. I'll even make a couple of local phone calls. Put that local angle for it.
But what about priorities? What about giving people what they need?
Hey, this is a future Hall of Famer we're talking about.
A guy who sends nude pictures of himself to women and is 42 years old.
Yeah. Make sure you get that in the story.
Scoop, this is silly. I can't believe you're doing this. Where's Brett Favre playing?
Oh, Minnesota.
No, where's the story going to go in the paper?
Well, he's going to go right here, right under Oprah.
And Lindsay?
Well, Lindsay will be here also under Oprah.
And 9/11.
Well, 9/11 will, You still got a half a page on the inside. And I'll even reefer it up here on page 1.
Unbelievable. I can't believe that you would bump the 10th anniversary of 9/11 for Brett Favre and Lindsay Lohan. One, Lindsay Lohan will never win governor. It's a publicity stunt, and we're falling for it. Two, Oprah coming out of retirement is a no-brainer. Everyone expected she would. Now she's doing a television show just like the one she quit. Big deal. Brett Favre stunk last year. He's going to stink even more this year. He'll be injured by the third game of the season and become a nothing. He came out of retirement 3 years in a row. Again, big deal.
Dan, I am not going to sit here and argue with you about it. You know that people devour anything about Brett Favre. So you're going to go to the Favre press conference, and I'm going to use wire copy for the 9/11 stories.
I'm not going. I'm going to do the 9/11 stories. If you want Favre so bad, you can make a phone call and use wire stories for that.
Dan, I have put up with your snotty, pretentious, bad-mouthing attitude here just about long enough. Now, you were going to go to that Favre press conference, or you can put your keys on the table. That's your choice. Favre or your job.
This is wrong. Everything about this is wrong. I'm not going. I'm going to do the 9/11 stories.
So that's your answer. So it's going to be keys on the table. Or perhaps you would like maybe food on the table. Maybe pay for that college degree for your son. If so, then it's off to Favre. If not, keys on the table.
Scoop, we can set the trend. Nearly 3,000 people died in 9/11, not to mention the thousands that died in Afghanistan and Iraq. This is the 10th anniversary. This should be our priority. It should be our banner across page 1.
You could do that 9/11 story. But if you don't do Favre, I don't run your story. Dan, this is your job we're talking about. It's a down economy out there. I do not control the news cycle. We're just giving people what they want.
Yeah, what they want. But not what they need.
And this piece is called The Queen of Nooks and Crannies. I am the queen of nooks and crannies, slipping 50s between the pages of books, keys into spare shoes, an old lover's number on your fishing hook. I am the queen of counting pennies, cracks in the sidewalk, white hairs sprouting along my part. How many times you paced the kitchen, how long we've been apart. I am the queen of memory, all the times you insulted me, how you said nobody else could understand. The way I curled up in your passenger seat that night in the garage, and even the kids couldn't talk me back inside. I am the queen of getting even, changing door locks and codes, selling your shoes, your old clothes, scrubbing every floor and wall, cleaning every nook and cranny, depositing every penny, processing every memory, until my life is even and quiet and safe once more. They're really good, aren't they? It's great.
Okay, this is called Rock and Roll Requiem. Rock and roll was the first music that knew it was free. It was electronic, swirling, neurologically dilated hope potion delivered by a white van full of people taking Saturnic drugs, serving a midnight feast of fruit and meat and careless pleasure, with the moon beaming in embarrassment. The disco masters put it in a can, shook it up, studied it as it exploded. Now it just makes a profit.
This is called The End, and it's probably my favorite poem I've ever written. Sometimes you can smell the end. It's like beer spilled on jeans, crumpled in a pile on the basement of a forgotten evening after a long walk through the memories that just won't let me be. And I can smell the end. Like the burning wings of a dragonfly, pressed against high beams, staring down a country road, casting shadows from fence posts across dusty fields, lay to rest, solemn, waiting for the quiet of winter. All things come to an end. It's like sitting around fire, huddled for warmth with a friend. I just needed to be close to someone like you just for a while, before I once again descend into the winter of my life.
White space. 1. I love these days of white space, empty pages waiting for anything, for footprints the wind heals over, for owls later hooting po-po-po-po-pourri, then sweeping up the place. The sloped shoulders of the barn are solid white. Even the ponies have long white beards. Even the shadows are empty. 2. Full moon through the sunburst locusts. Branches iced and dancing like Zhivago wind chimes. Just look up and listen. This is not apocryphal. We saw it only moments ago, and the apocalypse wasn't slouched down behind the bluffs. 3. From your deer stand in late November, Before trees' silhouette then disappear, there's a held breath, a rift between worlds. What is missing from the rough draft was not left out. Looking is not seeing. The colophon is out there in the rock. Some call it atmospheric perspective, sketched in the margins of the mountains. These notes more cryptic, with lacunae where you have to guess. Inhabit the stand of dead junipers, warped in human forms. Where have you been? What are you being? One bird, two notes, enough to name it.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.